Intrepid viewers, it seems like we've had our first lovers' tiff. Now, I've read every comment, thank you, and most of you didn't agree with my take in the last reading, and that's fair enough. And I totally understand where you are coming from. As you pointed out, the Democrats were voted in to stand up to Trump. That was first and foremost. The deal itself is shonky in the extreme and offering some wishy-washy partial solution while getting a bit of permanent wall. You can't trust him. Even if a deal was struck, there's no guarantee he'd stick by it. And you made very good points about that. There was also, if you cave in, he'll be worse. I can understand that. But basically, it's a trust factor, and he hasn't got it. My only point was, I just worry about the millions of Americans who are fundamentally decent, who want to support DACA and so forth. They don't follow the ins and outs that closely. I'm just worried that so early into the Dems getting power that they get hamstrung over this, you know, like, oh, I really hope not. I really hope not. So I wish Nancy Pelosi and Schumer, for that matter, all the best. If that's what's best, stand firm. So there's that. So I thought I had to get back to you on all that before I went on to another topic, but I thought while we're revisiting the shutdown, to have a look closer, I wanted to see what Putin thinks of the shutdown. I mean, there's some who think that he might even be behind it. Who knows? And the GOP, because the ball is essentially in their court. And yet they seem to be getting off really lightly with this, you know, like, how frustrating. Yes, so just to clarify that, when I was saying the deal was clever, I'm sure he didn't come up with it, because it, like I was saying, it appears reasonable when it's not. So obviously he didn't come up with it because he hasn't got the brain power. But the shutdown goes on, and we need to keep on top of it. So let's have a look now. First of all, Putin. Putin, what does Putin think about the shutdown? I have to remind you, viewers, that in other countries where there are not government shutdowns, it's hard to imagine that this sort of thing could happen. You know, how does that happen? How does Treasury stop money to federal agencies? You know, it's understandable in banana republics, but it doesn't happen in other first world countries. I really don't understand the fundamentals of the shutdown. So please advise me. Okay, Putin. I'm using the Toth deck because I'm dealing with Putin and because of the GOP. So for those who aren't familiar with the Toth deck, it's it's a deck with a history. I never use it for personal readings. Some people say it's quite a dark deck, and that's why I use it for those of more nefarious intent. So it's perfect for Putin and perfect for the GOP. So, Putin. Let's have a look at Vladimir. I should bring it this way. Oh, something's appeared on my screen. Whenever I do Russia, something turns up on my screen. Okay, let me push this back a bit. All right, well, not surprisingly, I think Putin's quite okay with this. Why wouldn't he be? If his aim is to destabilise the Western world, including the UK and the USA, he'd have to be grinning slyly into his Cocoa Pops, wouldn't he, really? So he does get this Pharaonic card. Technically, it's the equivalent of Judgment in the more conventional decks. But in the Thoth deck, it's the Pharaoh. And with Putin and his power, he very much fits that profile. So there's the Oogie Boogie card, if you like, of art. It's got the qualities of the magician. The left hand doing different things from the right hand. There's a split persona here. It's sort of almost the battle between good and evil, or evil and worse evil. There's, yeah, with this, it's also, you have here this vulture-like bird and this quite sinister-looking creature drinking from the chalice. So it's like Putin and others, possibly the oligarchs, have created this poison brew. I'm not saying they're literally pushed for the shutdown, but they're lapping from the trough. Next, Putin and the shutdown gets the Fool card. Now, I can give you much more elaborate and sophisticated interpretations of the Fool, but I don't think it's required here. He thinks Trump is a fool. He, of all people, does not for 1 minute, even though he groomed him, think he's a smart man. He doesn't. So he's hoping, I think at this stage, that the Fool can bring off a few more things for Russia before the Fool is evicted from the White House. They're playing for time. I think with this card, which is brewing something, I think he has been in Trump's ear, whatever form that actually takes. We know Trump won't reveal any of the conversations he has with Putin, and it could be between third parties, but the message is getting there. And then there is the Seven of Wands, which is sort of holding your ground and valor and stuff. Putin, sees this as somewhat of a victory for Russia. So in that sense, the longer it goes on, the better it is for Putin, who's hoping the Fool stays in long enough to do a bit more damage. Okay, so no surprises there. No. So let's move on now to the GOP, because I want this to be a short video so it can upload quickly, because I wanted to get back to you after that last video. So let's just quickly look at the GOP, because I've looked at them before in relation to this, but as the shutdown goes on, there has to be pressure on individuals in the GOP to start breaking ranks more than they have done. But I'm hoping so, but who knows. The GOP is very good at holding a party line together. Almost too good. Okay. All right. The GOP and the shutdown. The GOP and the shutdown. Oh, they get the Fool card too. They get the Hermit, the Hierophant, coming to a deal. I'll do one more. Abundance, that's weird. I have to think about that. Okay, Trump used to turn up all the time in my readings as the Emperor. Now he's turning up all the time as the Fool. So they are dealing with the Fool. The other thing about this reading, viewers, there's only 5 cards and 3 are major arcana, so it's quite a big story. The Hermit, they're in retreat, they're not saying anything. We know this. the Hierophant, law and order systems, holding the power. They still hold the power, i.e. in the Senate. So they're towing the line. It's these cards that are a bit weirder. There's the Two of Cups, which is love, and the Three of Cups, which is celebration. I'm not happy with those, you'd have to say. So love and celebration. It's like they're congratulating themselves. Instead of this being something they're embarrassed about or something that's keeping them awake at night, I'd have to say from these cards, it's not. Look, we're doing a whole party, so obviously there'll be some who are more stressed than others and some who have a lingering brain and a flicker of a heart. But as a party, maybe that's it. Maybe they're looking at the Fool and going, it's him. We can step back. We're not getting blamed, which is sort of what's happening. People are blaming Trump and the Dems, not so much the individuals in it. Everyone who follows what is going on blames it on Mitch McConnell, who blames it on the recalcitrant Republicans. But the party themselves, they're saying, oh, okay, he said it's his. He can have it. I'm not seeing them staying awake at night. Ooh, what ghastly people. So let's have a quick look before I finish on Mitch McConnell, who's the key to this, who's now going to take the complete bastard project forward, that awful deal. Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell. The phrase "a special place in hell" has been so overused, it's losing potency. But you'd have to say, Mitch McConnell, what's his game? Mitch McConnell. Ooh. 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 Okay. All right. Oh, sorry, viewers. I never do that intentionally. I get carried away. Okay. On top, this is just Mitch McConnell, not the party. Defeat. Prince of Swords. You know, going to war, taking it to war. He gets the Ace of Cups, abundance, which looks like a success here. But the very next card is the Three of Swords and sorrow. In other words, don't forget defeat on top. So he's going to war. Eventually it will end in defeat. Short-term outcome will look like success for Mitch McConnell, followed by the sorrow. In other words, I think he's going to have some success with what he's putting forward, and it'll look good, and people will start to say in the party again, oh, he's a genius, he's a genius. But long term, you've got defeat and sorrow. Couldn't happen to a nicer man. Look, let's hope, viewers. So I had to get back to you. And I've got another one on updating on Ivanka and Don Jr., etc., ready to go tomorrow. Okay, I'll load this now. Bye.